The compliance meeting starts at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I'm sitting in the glass conference room with 15 people I've worked with for 3 years. My coffee is still hot. I haven't done anything wrong. My boss, Jeffrey, is standing at the front. He's calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that means someone else is about to pay for his mistake. We have a serious issue, he says, clicking to a slide with red text. An unauthorized action was taken in the restricted database. Someone bypassed approval protocols. My stomach doesn't move yet. This is normal. This is just procedure. Then he looks directly at me. This authorization came from Megan's account. The room shifts. 15 heads turn. 15 pairs of eyes lock onto my face. I can feel the temperature change. The moment accusation becomes fact. I never authorized anything, I say. My voice sounds smaller than I intended. Jeffrey nods slowly, like he expected me to deny it. Like denial is proof of guilt. We'll investigate, he says. His tone is sympathetic. That's the worst part. He sounds sorry for me. Legal will need to review the authorization record. He clicks to the next slide. It's blank. No screenshot. No timestamp. No documentation. Just my name written in bold letters on an empty slide. The legal officer leans forward. Where's the authorization record, Jeffrey? Jeffrey hesitates for 1 second. Just one. Then he changes the slide to something else entirely. Budget projections, meaningless numbers, a distraction. We'll get you everything, he says. Megan, we'll need you to cooperate fully. I nod. I don't know what else to do. The meeting continues around me like I'm already gone. Within 1 hour, my system access is locked down. I try to log into my work files at 3:47 p.m. A message appears. Your account access has been restricted pending compliance review. Contact HR for details. My keyboard suddenly feels dangerous. Like anything I touch will be used against me. HR calls me 20 minutes later. A woman named Helen whom I've never actually spoken to before. Megan, we need to keep this contained, she says. Don't contact anyone involved in the investigation. Don't discuss this with coworkers. We'll be in touch with next steps. What investigation? Yes. I didn't do anything. We just need to be careful, she says. For everyone's sake. I sit at my desk for another hour pretending to work. My computer is now a monitor of my own imprisonment. Can't access files. Can't send emails to most people. I'm a ghost with a badge. At 5 p.m., Jeffrey walks past my desk. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't acknowledge me. He just walks past like I'm furniture. That's when I know this isn't a misunderstanding. This is intentional. An automated email lands in my inbox at 5:32 p.m. It's timestamped to the exact second. System access restrictions applied. 3:47 p.m., January 14th. I take a screenshot. I don't know why yet. Instinct. But something inside me, something quiet and focused, tells me I'm going to need to remember this moment exactly. I'm home by 6 p.m. My apartment feels smaller than usual. The walls are listening. I open my personal work archive. Documents I downloaded for reference, backup files, things that belong to me. Everything is still there, waiting. I pull up my login history. I've kept detailed records of every time I access the system. It's what I do. I'm careful. I'm methodical. I scroll backward to the date of the restricted action. January 8th. My credentials show inactive. The entire day of January 8th is blank. I wasn't even logged in. I was in a dentist appointment that afternoon. I remember because my tooth still hurts. My heart rate picks up. This is good. This is evidence. But then I look more carefully. There's another user session overlapping that exact time window. Same user ID format. But the ID itself is masked. Hidden behind administrator protocol. Someone else was using the system during the window when I'm accused of acting. And they were careful enough to hide their tracks. Not careful enough, though. The method they used, the specific override path, is distinctive. It's the kind of thing only someone with deep system knowledge would know. My hands are shaking now, but not from fear. From clarity. Jeffrey has worked in this department for 12 years. He knows every system inside out. He knows administrator protocol like I know my own name. I save these files to an encrypted drive. Every single screenshot. Every timestamp. I don't know what I'm going to do with this information yet. But I know I'm going to need it. 3 days pass with no communication. No update. No apology. Just silence. I request the formal allegation summary through HR portal. It's my right, apparently. It arrives in my inbox on Friday morning. The document is 4 pages long. I read it in 30 seconds. It's empty. No screenshots. No attachments. No technical details. Just vague accusations and conclusions written like facts. Megan authorized an action without proper approval. Megan bypassed restricted protocols. Megan demonstrated willful disregard for compliance. No proof. Just narrative. And the wording, I recognize it immediately. These are Jeffrey's phrases. The way he structures accusations. The words he uses when he's covering himself. Willful disregard. Demonstrate responsibility. Cooperate fully. He writes like a man who's practiced this before. I think about what I learned in Chapter 3. About the other employee Jeffrey mentioned in a meeting months ago. Someone who left the company quietly. I never knew why. Same accusation structure, probably. Same empty evidence. Same narrative that feels true because everyone agrees it's true. I'm not the first person he's done this to. I won't be the last. Unless I stop it. By the second week I understand the full picture. Coworkers stop messaging me. Not dramatically. Just gradually. Slack conversations I was part of continue without me. I'm not removed. I'm just not added anymore. Calendar invites stop coming. Meetings happen. I learn about them later accidentally. When someone forgets I'm invisible. I say nothing about it. This is important. Silence is a weapon now. Instead I start documenting. Everything. Every date. Every missed meeting. Every conversation that doesn't happen. Every pause when someone sees me in the hallway and chooses to look away. Keep a notebook. Real paper, not digital. Not hackable. Not recoverable through corporate systems. I notice a pattern. The people who stop talking to me are the ones who reported to Jeffrey. The ones in his circle. The ones who depend on his approval for promotions or assignments. But others, people in different departments, they still talk to me. They still meet with me when I reach out. They're just careful about it. Fear spreads through hierarchies. Moves downward. Follows power. I watch it move. And I watch who resists it. By week 3 I'm ready. I file a formal request for system logs through the compliance protocol. It's legal. It's protected. It's my right as an employee under investigation. The request goes through official channels. Internal compliance office. External legal review. Documented. Timestamp. Undeniable. The reaction is immediate. People become nervous. Can feel it. The energy in the office shifts. Suddenly people are taking meetings with lawyers. Compliance officers are on calls I'm not on. The usual office gossip stops entirely. Someone's afraid of what those logs are going to show. Jeffrey calls me on Friday. Do you have a minute? He asks. Nothing official. Just a check-in. We sit in a small meeting room. He closes the door quietly. How are you holding up? He asks. His tone is gentle. Concerned. Paternal. His eyes are watching my face carefully. Not concerned about me. Measuring me. Trying to understand what I know. I'm fine, I say. This has been a difficult time, he continues. For everyone. These investigations can get complicated. Sometimes people misunderstand processes. Sometimes things get messy. He's offering me an out. A way to make this go away quietly. If I confess to something I didn't do, this ends. I'm cooperating fully, I tell him. His expression doesn't change, but something behind his eyes hardens. He knows I haven't backed down. You know, Jeffrey says, still calm. Your role in the department is important. But it's also junior. You understand that, right? The threat is so quiet it barely makes a sound. These situations have a way of following people, he continues. Even after investigations close, people remember accusations. Hiring managers see patterns. He's telling me my career is fragile. He's telling me that even if I'm cleared, the damage is permanent. His tone remains soft, almost kind. It would be better for everyone, he says, if you took responsibility, even partial responsibility. We could contain this. Close it quietly. Move forward. Move forward. Translation: leave. I'm innocent, I say. I know you believe that, he says. It's the kind of thing people say when they think you're delusional. He stands up. The meeting is over. I hope you understand how small individual contributions are, he adds, walking toward the door. In the bigger picture, I mean. In a company this size, people come and go. But the institution remains. That's what matters. He's reminding me of his power. Reminding me that he's bigger than me. That he can make me disappear without making a sound. The door closes quietly behind him. I sit alone in the meeting room for 5 minutes. My hands are steady. My breathing is even. He thinks he's already won. He has no idea what I've prepared. The first batch of system logs arrives on Monday morning. 40 pages of technical data. Timestamps. User IDs. Access points. Override authorizations. Takes me 2 hours to decode it. The action I'm accused of took place on January 8th at 2:14 p.m. At that exact time, there was an administrator override on the restricted database. The override wasn't initiated by my user ID. It was initiated by a masked ID that only senior staff can access. And the method used, the specific pathway through the security layers, is documented in the logs. It's distinctive. It requires deep knowledge of the system architecture. Only 3 people in the entire department know that override path. Jeffrey is one of them. The other 2 are directors who haven't even been in the building on January 8th. I can verify that through calendar logs. I print the pages. I make copies. I keep them in a folder at home, in a locked drawer, in a safe that Jeffrey doesn't know exists. The logs point upward. Not at me. At him. HR asks me to come in for an update on Friday. The compliance officer, a man named Thomas, sits across from me with the investigation file. We're making progress, he says. We've reviewed the allegation, and we're examining the technical aspects. Have you looked at the system logs? Yes. We're reviewing those now, he says. It's complex. The logs show administrator overrides. I tell him. They show that my account was inactive during the time in question. Thomas nods like this is new information. It isn't. He's read everything I've read. The logs are one piece of the puzzle, he says. We also need to consider policy language, intent, and broader context. Translation. We need to construct a narrative that fits what we've already decided. HR isn't looking for truth. HR is looking for direction from above. So what happens now? Yes. We continue to gather evidence, he says. And we'll schedule a follow-up meeting once we've completed our review. That means they're stalling. They're waiting for Jeffrey to tell them what conclusion he wants them to reach. Just before I leave, Thomas says something quietly. If you want to resend your request for the system logs, he says, we could probably expedite the process. For accuracy. He's asking me to bury my own evidence. The logs I received seem accurate, I say. He doesn't respond. I pull the document version histories for every file related to the action I'm accused of authorizing. The authorization form itself is the most interesting. It shows 3 versions. Version 1. Created on January 6th. No authorization signature. Version 2. Created on January 7th. Partial approvals from 2 managers. Version 3. Created on January 9th. My signature added. The edit timestamp for version 3, the one that adds my name, is January 9th at 11:47 a.m. That's exactly 1 hour and 33 minutes after the compliance meeting where Jeffrey first accused me. My name was added after the fact. After I was already accused. After the narrative was already set. Someone backdated my involvement to make it look legitimate. Someone with access to the document systems. Someone with administrator override permissions. Someone who knew how to hide the edit trail carefully but not carefully enough. I find the secondary metadata. The true creation timestamp buried in the file properties. It matches January 9th, 11:47 a.m. exactly. Not January 6th. Not January 8th. The day after I was publicly accused. The puzzle is almost complete now. I just need one more piece. 2 weeks pass with no updates. Silence is a strange weapon. It's waiting. It's pressure without words. Jeffrey grows confident again. I see it in his posture. The way he jokes in meetings. The way he started talking about the investigation like it's already resolved. Once this situation is closed, he says. When we move past this. Like my exoneration is already decided. Like I'm already gone. He stopped worrying. That means he stopped thinking I'm a threat. That's when the calendar invite arrives. Final review meeting. Megan's compliance investigation. Scheduled for Thursday at 10 a.m. Attendees. Jeffrey, Thomas from HR, a legal representative, and the compliance director. Know me interestingly. Which is strange for a meeting about my own investigation. I read the invite 3 times. This is it. This is the moment they're going to close the case against me. They're going to issue their findings without me in the room. They're going to vote to terminate me or demote me or whatever they've decided. They're going to bury this. Have 24 hours. I spend Wednesday night organizing everything. System logs. Timestamps. Edit histories. Version metadata. Calendar entries. Compliance requests. Email chains showing the change in tone from before and after the accusation. Screenshots of my user access restrictions. Documentation of the overrides. Everything I've collected sits in front of me on my kitchen table. I cross-reference each piece. I verify every timestamp against system data. I build a timeline so clear and so obvious that even someone trying not to understand would understand it. The file is complete. Devastating. Legal. And I realize there's one missing piece. A witness. Someone who was in that first compliance meeting who can testify that Jeffrey showed an empty slide. That there was no documentation. That the accusation came before the evidence. Without that, Jeffrey can claim the file was corrupted. That slides were lost. That my timeline is reconstructed from fragments. With a witness, his lie becomes irrefutable. I think back to the meeting. 15 people in the room. One of them asked a question that day. A compliance analyst who wanted to see the authorization record. Who was looking for proof. She was ignored when Jeffrey changed the slide. But she noticed. I'm going to have to reach out to her. I'm going to have to ask her to tell the truth. And I'm going to have to do it without getting caught. Her name is Bianca. She works in the compliance department. I've never had a real conversation with her, but I know her reputation. Thorough, detail-oriented, someone who follows the rules because she believes in them. Find her email. I draft a message carefully. Nothing incriminating. Nothing that looks like I'm pressuring her. Hi Bianca, I've been thinking about the meeting on January 14th, and I wanted to check something. Do you remember if Jeffrey had the authorization documentation available when he presented the slides? I'm trying to understand the timeline. Thanks, Megan. I send it from my personal email, not my work email. She responds 3 hours later. Hi Megan, I actually did notice that. I asked about the documentation, and Jeffrey said he would send it, but then he moved to the next slides. I flagged it in my notes that day because the process seemed unusual. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now that you mention it, it is strange. Bianca. It's not much. But it's truth from someone credible. She's confirming that Jeffrey had no proof. That his accusation came first. That the documentation was never shown. I save her email in my encrypted folder. It's the final piece. I need to know who owns that masked user ID. The logs show the override, but the identity is hidden behind administrator encryption. It shouldn't be possible to decode it without access to the system. Except there's a secondary system, an older one rarely used. It runs a parallel backup of certain user data. I access it through a remote connection that's technically within my permissions, even with my access restricted. The system doesn't flag it because it's so old that no one monitors it. Inside I find the mapping file, the document that ties masked user IDs to their true identities. I search for the masked ID from the logs. The result is clear. Doesn't point to me. It points to Jeffrey. His user ID. His override. His access pattern. Documented. Timestamp. Undeniable. He did it himself. I start asking quiet questions. There was an employee who left the company 8 months ago. His name was Patrick. He worked in my department for 2 years, then suddenly left. I never knew why. I find him on LinkedIn. His current job title shows a demotion from where he was before. I message him carefully. Hey, this might be random, but I've been thinking about your time at company. Did you ever have any issues with Jeffrey? He responds within an hour. Why do you ask? Did he do something to you? We schedule a call. Patrick tells me the story. An accusation of unauthorized access. No documentation. His account restricted. He was told to take responsibility quietly or it would follow him forever. He took a lower-level job at another company rather than fight. Jeffrey has done this before. He's a pattern. And I'm not his first victim. Jeffrey submits a written statement to the compliance office on Tuesday. He doubles down. The statement claims he observed my actions directly. Claims he has documentation. Claims he raised the issue immediately for transparency and institutional integrity. Every word is a lie, reinforced with confidence. He believes the investigation is already closed. He believes I'm already gone. He believes his statement will be accepted as the word of a senior manager against a junior employee. He's not worried anymore. He's victorious. I read his statement 3 times, looking for the mistake. It's in the technical section. He claims the override method he observed was a direct authorization through the main system portal. That's the standard method. Anyone can do that. My login credentials would show up clearly. But the logs show an administrator override, a method that only senior staff can access. These two things contradict each other. Jeffrey just submitted a statement that contains a technical impossibility. He's lying so confidently that he's lying sloppily. The room is about to collapse, and he has no idea. I forward his statement to Bianca with a note. Does this technical description match what you observed? She responds immediately. No, that's not what he showed us at all. He didn't show us technical details. He just showed us a conclusion. Her response is crucial. She's confirming that Jeffrey fabricated the technical narrative after the fact. He invented details that didn't exist. He's not just lying about what he did. He's lying about what he claimed to have witnessed. This is desperation disguised as confidence. I'm called into another meeting with Thomas from HR. The final review is happening Thursday, he says. We're ready to close the investigation. Can I submit evidence? Yes. Thomas looks uncomfortable. What kind of evidence? Technical evidence. System logs. Analysis that contradicts the allegations. We've already reviewed the system logs, he says. Not all of them, I say. Not the secondary backup system. And not the file version histories. Thomas shifts in his chair. He knows what I'm offering. You could submit that through official channels, he says carefully. Before Thursday if you'd like. Or I tell him I could wait. For the escalation. What escalation, he asks. If the investigation closes incorrectly, there's a compliance escalation process. It goes to executives. Becomes a formal review. It becomes permanent record. Thomas goes very still. I have documentation that contradicts the findings. I continue. If the investigation closes without considering it, I'll have to use the escalation process to protect myself. It's not a threat. It's a fact. He understands. I'll make sure the evidence deadline is extended, he says quietly. He knows what I'm about to unleash. Before I leave, Thomas adds something I don't expect. For what it's worth, I noticed the inconsistencies too. I was just following direction from above. This moment matters. Thomas is admitting what I've already suspected. HR was compromised from the beginning. They weren't investigating fairly. They were implementing a predetermined outcome. But now that I've made the escalation path visible, he's distancing himself. He's protecting his own career. This is how institutions work. Fear moves down, but so does self-preservation. I've been reading the compliance policy manual for weeks. Every clause, every subsection, every footnote. I find it on page 47. Section 8.4. Intent versus documentation. In cases of alleged unauthorized actions, intent may be subject to interpretation. However, all system access records are absolute. Access logs are the institutional record of truth and cannot be contradicted by narrative testimony. Jeffrey hid behind policy complexity. He assumed no one would read the entire manual. He assumed the authority of his position would shield him from scrutiny. The policy itself is his undoing. The access logs are absolute. The logs show his user ID. The logs show his override method. The logs show the timestamp that contradicts his statement. Intent doesn't matter anymore. Records are absolute. I cross-reference the system access logs with executive calendar records. The override happened on January 8th at 2:14 p.m. Jeffrey's calendar shows a meeting that day from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. A meeting with the CFO and 2 board members. He testified in his written statement that he was working in the office all day. But if he was in a meeting with the CFO at 2:14 p.m., he wasn't at his desk initiating system overrides. Unless he did both simultaneously, which would mean the override was planned, intentional, automated through access delegation. Either way, it proves premeditation. His testimony creates a logical impossibility. He can't be in 2 places at once. Thursday morning arrives. I compile everything into a professional evidence packet. 30 pages. Organized. Clear. Unemotional. I don't accuse. I don't interpret. I just present facts. System logs showing override timing and method. Edit histories showing when my name was added to documents. Calendar comparisons showing contradictions. Policy references showing what the logs prove. Technical analysis showing the impossibility of Jeffrey's testimony. I submit it through official channels at 8:47 a.m. Before the final review meeting. The compliance office receives it at 8:52 a.m. They don't call me. They don't respond. They just accept the evidence. And then something happens that tells me everything I need to know. The meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. that day gets cancelled. No rescheduling notification. No explanation. Just cancelled. Compliance pauses the process. The machine that was designed to bury me has just stopped moving. The emails change immediately. On Thursday at 10:37 a.m., HR stops emailing me. No updates. No communications. Just silence. But legal starts emailing me at 11:15 a.m. Formal emails. Questions about my evidence. Requests for additional documentation. They want to verify every timestamp personally. By Thursday afternoon, my boss's pattern changes too. He cancels 3 meetings abruptly. No explanation. He doesn't joke anymore. His confidence has evaporated. By Friday morning, I see something that makes my pulse quicken. Jeffrey's administrative access has been temporarily restricted. He's locked out of the very systems he tried to blame me for accessing. The institution has turned its machinery against him. For the first time, the right questions are asked in the right order. Legal wants to know how my name was added to documents after the allegation. They want to understand the edit timestamps. They want clarification on the contradiction between Jeffrey's statement and the access logs. Jeffrey is asked to explain. He can't. There is no explanation. There is only the truth: he did it. He authorized the action himself. He backdated my involvement to create a scapegoat. He manufactured evidence. The follow-up meeting is scheduled without him. Just me. Just legal. Just facts. In a closed session, the truth becomes impossible to deny. The logs speak. The timestamps verify. The version histories confirm. The policy language makes it absolute. Jeffrey's reputation shatters against the weight of institutional records. He tried to hide behind his title, behind his authority, behind the complexity of corporate systems. But the records are absolute. The room goes quiet when the conclusion is stated. Willful misrepresentation, falsified documentation, abuse of administrative privileges. Jeffrey has destroyed himself with evidence. Not anger. Not confrontation. Just facts. Just time. Just records. I sit in that room and feel nothing. No triumph. No anger. No satisfaction. Just clarity. This is what happens when you assume no one will read the fine print. When you assume your title protects you. When you assume the machinery of institutional power will always serve you, regardless of what the evidence shows. Jeffrey believed he was untouchable. He believed the system existed to protect people like him. And maybe it does most of the time. But only if no one forces it to actually follow its own rules. I forced it to follow its own rules. The silence in the room is the sound of an entire institution realizing it can't protect lies anymore. Jeffrey is removed from his position pending formal review. His access to all systems is permanently revoked. The investigation into him begins. Not the rushed, narrative-based investigation that was designed for me, but a real one. Thorough one. With actual documentation and consequences. I'm called in for one final conversation. The legal representative asks me a single question. Why did you wait? Think about this. About every moment I could have confronted him. Every opportunity to fight back immediately. Because, I say, if I had fought back too early, it would have been my word against his. And he had the title, the authority, the resources. But the records don't have titles, I continue. The logs don't care about authority. The timestamps don't lie. I just had to wait for the truth to become bigger than the narrative. You did the right thing, she says. I walk back into the building on Monday morning with full access restored. No apology is public. The correction is quiet. My files are returned to me. My calendar shows meetings again. My permissions are expanded. People make eye contact with me again. Not because they suddenly respect me, but because I'm no longer toxic. The story changed. I'm not the accused anymore. I'm the person who was framed and survived it. I don't celebrate. Breathe. There's a resignation letter on the desk of Jeffrey's office. He's gone. Disappeared into whatever comes after institutional humiliation. Patrick, the employee who left 8 months ago, reaches out through LinkedIn. Did you get justice? He asks. No, I tell him. I got truth. Justice would mean he faced real consequences. This is just institutional protection catching up to what it should have caught a long time ago. But it's enough. The truth didn't need anger. It didn't need confrontation. It didn't need me to break the law or cross any lines. Just needed time. And records. And someone patient enough to collect them. The records speak louder than titles. Always.